G'day, legends. I hope you're all awesome. It is a new year, new opportunities, new perspectives, all kinds of new things, which is kind of weird to consider that, the particular calendar that we use to measure the Earth's revolution around the sun and around its own axis carries all these connotations of rebirth and reevaluation, but it's just kind of the way it is. A new year comes along, and inevitably, most people take a little bit of time to reflect on the year that was and maybe what they're hoping the new year will be. So, as a guitar player, I thought I would just throw a little bit of motivation out there to you and mention three things related to being a guitar player in 2023. And the first one comes down to developing as a player and practicing. I spend a lot of my time teaching the guitar to a variety of different people, different backgrounds, different skill levels, different motivations, and different ultimate end goals. But I think the main thing that I would encourage people to take away is whether you are somebody who plays guitar professionally, like it's your bread and butter, it literally puts food on the table for you and it is the thing that you do the most in your life, or if you're somebody who simply plays guitar as a release, you get 15 minutes once a week to crank up your guitar and your amp and have a blast, and you use it purely for the spectacle of it and the enjoyment of it. Keep in mind that there's no real right way or no real moral imperative to go about enjoying the electric guitar or music in general. I definitely went through a phase myself where I was playing a lot and I wasn't really that invested in it. I wasn't playing guitar a lot at home. I wasn't really listening to guitar music. The guitar just became this thing that I kind of operated. I wouldn't say that I fell out of love with it because I loved playing live gigs and I loved interacting with people at the shows and with my bandmates and traveling and all those kind of things. But the guitar kind of took a back seat in my life. And then probably the last 5 or 6 years, I've been playing more guitar than I ever have in my spare time. It's kind of become my main hobby again, and I've got into different styles of music. I've just kind of really, really had a lovely run. I've been very grateful for that. Been loving playing guitar, but I don't think it's necessarily better or worse than when I was still playing a lot, but only really playing at shows and not practicing. It's just the way it was. So if you do really want to push yourself as a player this year, I would say just focus on the things that you actually want to do. If you really want to be able to play rhythm guitar like James Hetfield, then you don't have to go and watch a bunch of videos about how to play octatonic jazz lines or how to comp gypsy jazz licks or how to play prog lines or anything like that. It's totally fine to spend the time that you have just blasting Metallica songs, working on your right hand aggression and your overall attitude, and pushing yourself into a place where you're really satisfied with your own playing. I'm speaking purely from a personally enjoyable perspective there. Obviously, if you were someone playing in a cover band and you also had to do those octatonic jazz lines and the Metallica stuff, you kind of owe it to the people that are paying to see you to put the work in there. But I think most of my audience isn't going to be professional musicians. A lot of people are probably going to class themselves as enthusiasts and hobbyists, and it is totally fine to just enjoy the things that you enjoy in the guitar and to not put effort into things that you don't enjoy. After all, that kind of groundswell of enjoyment is really what I've been digging the most out of the instrument over the last couple of years. I've been playing professionally a lot as well and putting in that time. But if you only get a little bit of time, put it into the things that you really love about the instrument. And there's so much noise on the internet about, the 5 things all guitar players must know and the one thing that you're not doing right. YouTube is actually really, really bad for that because you need those extreme thumbnails and that clickbait for your videos to get purchased. And it kind of creates, I won't say a toxic environment, it creates this feedback loop that leads people who are otherwise offering pretty decent advice to really oversell it in the thumbnail and in the title. There's no one thing you need to do to be a guitar player who enjoys music and enjoys guitar and really get something out of it from a personal perspective. There's not 5 tricks that will change your life on the guitar. Just do it and keep doing it. I think that is the trick there. And that flows into the next kind of thing I want to talk about, and that is gear. And again, there's no real right or wrong when it comes to gear. And I don't want to say this is like a kind of moral relativism there. Obviously, again, if you're playing professionally, you need gear that's going to do the job. But there's so much gear that does the job nowadays. It's a bit of a worn out cliche. Everything sounds good. Everything has been built well. We are in the golden age of guitar gear. So again, use the gear that makes you happy. And gear is mostly for us as guitar players. When I go and do a show and I choose to use a multi-tap delay with the high cut on the delay feedback line at 3K instead of 4K, it's 100% for me. It's because I enjoy the tone more with those settings. I enjoy the type of gain boost that I have on my lead patch. It makes everything dirtier and louder and easier to play. Kind of works in the context of the song, and it makes me feel happy. So I'm ticking all of those boxes there, but you know, the fact that I'm using a greenback cab IR versus an EV IR or something like that, in the grand scheme of things, these aren't life or death decisions. Use what makes you happy there. And I think that little kernel of advice kind of leads into, you know, you developing your own sound. Because if everybody used the same gear and everybody used the same settings, it would be incredibly boring. Part of the beauty of music, and the guitar especially, is that the same people can pick up the same instrument and the same gear and come out with radically different results. That is the beauty of this thing we call music, I believe. So second one, you know, do you when it comes to gear. And the third one that I would say actually has to do with all the things that aren't guitar in your life, and to really focus on your own personal well-being. I was speaking to one of my students recently, and they came out with this absolute perler of a line, which I really like, where they kind of said, you know, I've been somebody who's always tried to get 10 out of 10 on the test. I want to get the best result possible. But you can't do that in every single aspect of your life at the same time. So if it's a choice of 10 out of 10 at guitar and 6 out of 10 at the rest of your life, and maybe 6 out of 10 at guitar and 10 out of 10 at the rest of your life, it's a pretty obvious choice. And it's not the 10 out of 10 out of guitar. I know what all you sycophants out there are thinking, but I've really thought about that over the last kind of months that I've heard that particular line. And, you know, the reality is most of the things that I do during the guitar, during the guitar, you can say I'm thinking about the guitar, but during the day don't relate to the guitar. You know, there's all the other aspects of my life that I need to take care of. And for me, you know, being a good husband and being like a good friend and trying to not be too much of an absolute dickhead to all the people that live around me and that I interact with definitely takes precedence over, you know, a particular guitar lick. And I definitely don't succeed all the time at this. There are definitely times where I focus too much on playing guitar and writing music and doing YouTube videos. And I've had those situations in my life where I've poured way too much of myself into these things and I haven't focused on the other things that ultimately being a guitar player and a musician is nested in. You know, it's a small part of your life. It's a very enjoyable part of your life that ultimately people want to optimize. But there's all these other things around it that if they are not sitting right, the guitar playing and the music is not going to be right either. So think of that little perspective there. Like, do you want to get an A at your hobby and a C at the rest of your life, or do you want it to be the other way around? And I think that applies to work as well. Nearly everybody watching this video, whether you're a professional musician, you're one of the minority of people who are doing music as a living, or you're somebody who does music as your main creative outlet, but you have a day job or several day jobs, there's only so much of yourself and so much of your soul you can pour in to that particular thing where you just don't get a return past it. So maybe this is me just getting a bit older and kind of getting into my mid-30s now and having that realization where I have way less time to devote to all the things that I want, and I'm really trying to focus on the things that are ultimately important to my well-being as a person and the well-being of the people around me. So yeah, keep that in mind that, again, you know, guitar, it's not a life or death thing. No matter how many things you read about, you know, guitar is the most important thing and music is life, that's a super overblown, unbalanced perspective in my opinion. And again, this is all just my opinion. So Feel free to disagree in the comments. Feel free to reach out with any great advice you've got over the years that has made you a slightly happier, more productive person. And I hope 2023 is a really positive and enjoyable year for all of you out there. And I'm certainly looking forward to a bunch of projects that I'm working on here with the channel and a bunch of other things out there. So I really do wish everybody out there a great new year. And please stay in touch. I'm going to be making a bunch of videos over the year, obviously, so you can stay in touch, whether it's related to gear or playing or all these other things. Let me know the sort of videos you would like to see here on the channel. And I hope you have a great new year. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.